Merrick Garland, the Attorney General of the United States, is getting a subpoena from Congress. It's about time. Jim Jordan sent it over to him from the House Judiciary Committee. You can see the Washington Examiner has the story for us. Garland gets a subpoena, and this comes on the back of a story we've already covered here about the DOJ spying on Congress and congressional aides when they were investigating malfeasance in our government. They say Jordan sent a letter over to Merrick Garland, which we will read, but this is the background on the letter. It says Jordan initially contacted Merrick Garland, and remember how this works. You don't just send a subpoena right out of the gates. You say, can you please give us information? No. Can you give us information, please? Pretty please information? Okay. If you don't give us information, then we'll maybe issue a subpoena, and then the subpoena comes. So Jordan initially contacted Garland about the matter all the way back in October. After Jason Foster, this guy, who is one of the founders of Empower.us, which is the entity that represents the IRS whistleblowers, he was involved in spying, being spied upon, rather. Now, he's a lawyer for the advocacy group called Empower Oversight, and he revealed to us that we talked about here that Google had recently told him that the DOJ had subpoenaed it in 2017 for subscriber information associated with telephone numbers of his family members, as well as details about whom the subscribers were communicating with. So Jason Foster was working for our government, and the DOJ was spying on him. So, for example, Foster was working for Chuck Grassley at the time. So he was working on the whistleblowers case. He's now left to go to represent the whistleblowers. And at that time, when he was working for a senator in Congress, the Department of Justice at the executive branch, a separate branch of government, they sought data about his private messages. Okay, so they went to Google, said, we have a subpoena to get Chuck Grassley's aides data. He was among numerous staffers who had the DOJ seize their data in 2017 as part of a department's investigation into media leaks about Trump campaign aide Carter Page. The DOJ's efforts to gather the private data of some aides came to light in 2021, but Foster did not learn he was amongst those aides until October. Jordan said he was worried about the data seizures, that they're a way for the DOJ to pry into Congress. And so Jim Jordan sent a letter. Jim Jordan sends a letter and a subpoena to Merrick Garland, Honorable of the Attorney General of the United States, DOJ, saying on the 19th from the Committee on the Judiciary from Congress, they say, Dear Merrick, the Committee on the Judiciary is conducting oversight of the DOJ's use of its law enforcement authority to obtain private communications of members of Congress and its congressional staff members. You see here, Margot Cleveland wrote about this, and we just got up to speed on the background. Jordan tells Garland, on October 31st, we wrote to you to request information from the DOJ about subpoenas that you got to get private communications of legislative branch employees. We sent that letter back on October 31st. You got it. Due to the department's inadequate response to date, the committee must resort to a compulsory process, which means you're getting a subpoena, buddy. On November 8th, the DOJ informed the committee via email. You said that we have a change of DOJ policies involving members of Congress and their staff, and that we're imposing new requirements to consult with or receive approval from the public integrity section. So, we're not going to do that again. Okay, we already made changes. Like, thanks for your concern, but we've already made some adjustments. Now, this communication, however, provided no update on the status of our request. Now, after receiving no subsequent information from you on November 28th, we wrote you again, reiterating our request, requesting material relating to your policy changes as you announced. Now, on December 4th, the department finally provided a response to our letter, offering a timeline and a brief description of the recent policy changes for investigating Congress and congressional staff. Now, in response to our request, the DOJ provided only two publicly available documents, stuff we already had, concerning the indictment and the guilty plea of a select Senate Staff Intelligence Committee staff member. Footnote 6 is referencing a letter from Carlos Uriarte. Now, the department produced no other documents responsive to our request. Like, you don't need anything else. In its letter to the committee, DOJ represented that the legal process used, which reportedly sought the private communication of both Republicans and Democrats, were related to one investigation into the unauthorized disclosure of classified info in a national media publication. Now, according to news reports, this investigation centered on the FISA warrants obtained by the DOJ on former Trump campaign associate Carter Page. At the time, the FISA warrant on Mr. Page was the subject of congressional oversight and vigorous debate on Congress. The DOJ Office of Inspector General later determined that the department abused its FISA authority to surveil Mr. Page, and the department admitted that there was insufficient prediction for the warrant. Yeah, they just wanted to spy on Trump, and they made up a reason to do it. If the DOJ's representation is accurate, it indicates that the executive branch used its immense law enforcement authority to gather and search the private communications of multiple legislative branch employees who were conducting constitutional oversight of the department's investigative actions. It's not like they were spying on, people that had no connection to the DOJ. They were spying on the people that were investigating and blowing the whistle on the DOJ. Actions that were later found to be unlawful. Because the department has not complied in full with our requests, we cannot independently determine whether the department sought to alleviate the heightened separation of power sensitivities involved in this, or whether the DOJ first sought information through other means before resorting to spying. The committee also has concerns that aspects of the investigation may have been a pretext to justify piercing the legislative branch's deliberative process and to improperly access data about members and staff. Saying the Supreme Court has recognized we've got broad power to investigate this stuff, and that's what we're doing here. We have the right to protect civil liberties and prevent the department from misusing its law enforcement authorities. And so, potential legislative reforms the committee may consider include, among other things, establishing requirements that the DOJ provide appropriate notice when they're about to go attack a legislative branch employee. The committee may also consider legislative proposals to reform how often the department may request an extension on a non-disclosure order without providing continued justification for their secrecy. Now, the information we have requested regarding this process is necessary to inform our legislation, and so, Merrick Garland, accordingly, please find attached a subpoena for the requested documents and information. Sincerely, your friend Jim Jordan, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. And so it's just perfect, right? It's not like the DOJ is going after, unrelated congressional committees. They're going after the people who are specifically looking into Congress, into the DOJ. In this case, it's the whistleblowers. It's people like Empower Oversight who were working for Chuck Grassley, who was saying, it feels like there's a cover-up underfoot here at the DOJ. And so Jim Jordan sends a subpoena to Garland. We'll see what Garland does, right? I highly doubt he's going to comply with it. And we'll see if he issues a response. We'll see if he shows up in front of the Judiciary Committee or what happens. Time will tell, my friends, but we'll be here to continue to cover it. Thanks for subscribing to our channel, wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for sharing it with a friend or family member, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.